So, Mr. Voss is a detective. He has a piece of paraphernalia that's conscious called a giggly alligator. It's this crazy device, and it's telepathic and telekinetic. And in this scene, after his deal or whatever, he finds himself in a room full of people, and somebody says something that the giggly alligator, his paraphernalia, doesn't like, and he starts filling the room with integer vapor, which is this pink vapor, which is makes people crazy. Mr. Foss puffs it all the time, and it makes other people totally crazy. Mr. Foss can hit it all the time because he's in control of his shit. I just start reading. He's talking about the octogenarians, these old people that were locked in this room, and the giggly alligator bolts the doors telekinetically so they can't open them. They're banging. It's like a gas chamber in there. The octogenarians make for the door in adorable semaphore as hands wave in the air in a despair compounded by the hideous sound of the giggly alligator not seeping and not leaking, but sending in freak beam a perfectly straight laser of pink vapor that begins to grow in circumference like the bell of a Victrola until, like an orchid pink and full of lust, extends itself in elegant fan unexampled in the annals of man, as like that self-same flower the power of its delicate touch nuzzles the air in front of it, cuddling with the elegant isthmus of its eloquent extension the living air incumbent to the known, and thus, in a stream continuous, the paraphernalia on my hip vomits the quintessence of its horrifying life into the tender aplomb of the silent gong of an atmosphere on the very cusp of detonation into higher modes of enclosure in this thing pristine called the incommodious unknown, clone of the dome of heaven, mega micro-sized into this fallacious enterprise called being in its multitudinous ruinousness, and sublime too with spiced interludes, scalding bald the tongue of the gourmand of cosmological lamb chop couched on a bed of mint jelly, which is to say that these old futzers can't get the doors open on account of the fact that my giggly alligator has bolted them shut with the omnibus thrust of his animus, bequeathed physical strength and extending invisible over the risible air, engendering giggles in the atmosphere of botched hysterectomy, as with impotent hands that slip helplessly over the knob, their lungs suck in great draughts of integer, splintering their brains, enfeebled by old creepoid, feed like a horse its oats, floating the circular motes of commodes of existence too flagrant to see, and I stand up, breathing too that wonderful intoxicant full of air moxied narcotically into the elixir without wetness that sends shivers of black ecstasy, strength like so many mothers being born within me, birthing more Mr. Fosses and long strands of me and I, and in 3 strides I crossed the room, and as I approached the door, the old-timers part as if nudged out of the way by a force sourceless, and the door opens on its own accord and shuts with a great whoosh of straggling vapor tossed to the wilds of existence, trapping the victims of the giggly alligator inside, and I cut a wide berth as I walked down the stairs out of this place as in a terrific tumult coming up the coming up, the emergency personnel with their air canisters and lock cutters, and as such, and as I glide downward in a gorgeous rush, parting like a frigate the bitter waters before me, I see conveyed up the stairs a mobile psychiatric hospital, laboring up the steps with many men struggling to hoist it step by step up the steep winding staircase, spiraling, and the grimacing on the faces stricken with strange species of emaciation, which hues I lost my place. Stricken with strange species of emaciation, they're lugging this portable psychiatric hospital up the stairs, and the grimacing on the faces stricken with strange species of emaciation, which hews like a scythe blade superfluous flesh, such that only a vanishing semblance of oneself is left, move so precariously in this extremely delicate situation in which the psychiatric hospital is shrieking in terror as its hydraulic arms, terminating in imposing claws, grapple and clutch at whatever stuff they can, be it banister or beam or man, and the horrible crying of his tantruming mind as with these pincers it tears at the walls of the stairwell, trying to balance itself with fearful desperation as the situation precipitates into something monstrous the moment the atonement for the insult endured by my paraphernalia at the hands of the trifling old Dudley I left to choke to psychosis in that hot box room comes to fruition as the fluid derision flowing melodiously from the equinox cuckoo clocks whose mockingbirds chirp blood orange syrups on the marmalade air, that is to say, in one grand madrigal of a malice musical, the force remorseless like a dorsal making swift course through the element of flesh and machine before me, the giggly alligator in high reprisal and in telekinetic play like a parlay between mainstays of reality, now gruesomely revealed to be the papier-mâché interplay between a pair of phases insatiate, thrust with an invisible hand, the poor workers carrying with tremendous effort at the very last a gas tendril of their strength, such that even the slightest movement can lead to catastrophes of foot and physic and biceps snap and lop and flap, and in the shrieking of tendons bending dangerously, ever precariously as hands reach and scrabble and grip, while their mouths pursed in great yearning for the top, take tiny sips of air, for the maximum of one's being has been reached in this stairwell bleached of every embellishment, and serving now as the theater for first principles indeed, the fundamentals of a reality where the principality that consorts over the fields of famine and flay is this self-same constituent situated above all else, physical calamity in all its forms, taut, crushed, achieving such delicate positions in which equilibrium is at a premium, and one untied shoe could be the stringy interlude, the vehicle between some guy named Steve and the gleaming world he'll inherit for whatever merits he gained in this world from work like this, and at the very apex of sinew-snapping tension, when like steel rods bent and groaning with a soundless intonation, my giggly alligator shrieks telepathically to clear the way. I'll take a break here.